Out of Santa Ana, California, prosecutors charged one police officer with murder and another with manslaughter Wednesday in the killing of an unarmed, mentally ill homeless man who was pummeled, shot with a taser, and slammed with the butt of a stun gun in a beating that lasted nearly 10 minutes. Fullerton Officer Manuel Ramos was charged with one count each of second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter in the death of 37-year-old Kelly Thomas after a violent confrontation with officers on July 5th, Orange County District Attorney Tony Rokakis said at a news conference. Police Corporal J. Cicinelli was charged with one count each of involuntary manslaughter and excessive force. A review of the evidence, including audio from the officer's body microphones and surveillance video, showed Thomas was acting in self-defense, in pain, and in a state of panic, Rokakis said. His numerous pleas of "I'm sorry, I can't breathe, help Dad," were all to no avail. Screams, loud screams, didn't help, the prosecutor said. Laurie Friedel, an associate professor of criminology at the University of South Florida, said it is highly unusual for a police officer to be charged with murder. It is quite appropriate in such cases to hold officers to account, Friedel said. Often, however, prosecutors will give officers the benefit of the doubt. Citing the video and audio recordings, Rokakis said Thomas appeared to be cognitively impaired as officers approached him. He was shirtless and wearing just a backpack as Ramos made a show of putting on latex gloves before ordering him to put his hands on his knees. He made two fists with his gloves on. 2 fists. He lifted his fists in front of Kelly Thomas so he could see them, and he said, "Now you see my fists? They are getting ready to expletive you up," Rokakis said. That's when it went from a fairly routine investigation, a fairly routine police detention, to an impending beating by an angry police officer. Ramos allegedly swung his baton at Thomas, but it was unclear if he hit him. The prosecutor said Ramos then chased Thomas, eventually punching him in the ribs and tackling him before holding down his neck and laying on top of Thomas to pin him down. The coroner listed the cause of death as mechanical compression of the thorax, which made it impossible for Thomas to breathe normally and deprived his brain of oxygen, Rokakis said. Other injuries to the face and head contributed to the death, the prosecutor said. Cicinelli, who arrived on the scene later, kneed Thomas twice in the head and used a stun gun 4 times on him as he screamed and yelled in pain, Rokakis said, adding that Cicinelli hit Thomas in the face 8 times with a taser and Thomas didn't respond. When Kelly didn't scream in response to these blows, it should have indicated to Cicinelli that Kelly was down and seriously hurt, he said. Rokakis, a longtime prosecutor known for his strong backing of law enforcement, said it was the first time he had filed charges against police officers for excessive force leading to death. Police officers have a right to use reasonable force in the performance of a lawful duty, but citizens have a right to self-defense, even against the police, he said. Ron Thomas, Kelly Thomas's father, cheered as he watched the prosecutor's news conference on TV with a group of supporters. He later said he was pleased with the charges. "That's exactly what I hoped for," he said in a phone interview. "It makes me feel fantastic that this is happening. It's the justice we need." Still, he said, he suffers every day as a result of his son's death. Ramos's attorney, John Barnett, said the charges were unfounded and disputed Rokakis' accounts of events. Thomas violently resisted arrest by kicking and swinging at officers, he said, adding that he had seen the same video cited by the prosecutor. In response to claims that Ramos put on latex gloves and told Thomas he was going to hurt him, Barnett characterized his client's attempts to get compliance as the lowest type of force. It was an attempt by the officer to use words, not force, to get the suspect to do what he's supposed to do, Barnett said. He sought to avoid physical confrontation with words. There was no compliance by Mr. Thomas. Bill Haddon, an attorney representing Cicinelli, didn't immediately return a call for comment. A call to a home number for Ramos rang unanswered. Arraignment was scheduled later Wednesday. 6 officers were placed on paid administrative leave after the incident that occurred while police officers were investigating reported vehicle break-ins at a transit hub. The other officers were not charged Wednesday and were not expected to be charged. Thomas suffered severe head and neck injuries and was taken off life support 5 days after the incident. Thomas suffered from schizophrenia and lived on the streets even though he received support from family and friends. Police said Thomas ran when officers tried to search his bag, and a struggle followed when they tried to arrest him for investigation of possessions of stolen goods. Video from a bystander's cell phone taken from a distance showed parts of the bloody encounter in which Thomas can be heard screaming for his father. Surveillance video aboard a bus showed agitated passengers telling the driver that officers beat and repeatedly used a stun gun during the arrest. After the incident, the police chief went on medical leave, and the embattled city council hired a law enforcement expert to investigate police department practices. Incensed community members, this is what it takes, held demonstrations and started an effort to recall the mayor and 2 council members over the incident. Ron Thomas filed a claim seeking damages from the city. He has previously released his son's medical records showing Thomas suffered broken bones in his face, choked on his own blood, and was repeatedly shocked with 2 stun guns. News reports indicate Cicinelli left the Los Angeles Police Department after losing an eye in 1996 while working as a probationary officer. Cicinelli, who was 25 at the time, was shot during an on-duty gunfight during a traffic stop less than 3 weeks after graduating from the police academy, according to a 1997 article in the Los Angeles Times. If convicted of all charges, Ramos could face a maximum sentence of 15 years to life in prison. Cicinelli could face a maximum sentence of 4 years if convicted. Of course, this is thanks to Associated Press writer Jillian Flacos in Orange County and Thomas Watkins and Jeff Wilson in Los Angeles contributed to this report. Thank you guys. And so my question to you viewers is, were these officers justified? Why or why not? And if they were or weren't, why or why not? Let me know what you guys think, and please let other people know of this video, because I think it's very important for people to know that, like the district attorney said, people can defend themselves. They have a right to protect themselves, even against cops. On the same token, cops' jobs are very stressful, and they don't know who they're going to encounter, so they got to be on guard at all times. But let me know what you guys think as far as them doing what they did.